We are the girls in Claret and Blue. I am Ali. This is my co-host, Reese. And we're going to give you a quick rundown of the game on Sunday and a rundown of the upcoming game against the dreaded Spurs and all of the fun in between. We took a brief hiatus last week because it was international break. So we're going to have a quick conversation about the internationals, both the Irons that went abroad as well as the England games. And I believe Reese has a lot of thoughts about the England games, so we're going to start there.
So yeah, I wasn't impressed with the way England performed over this international break. I think we've got to the stage now where Phil Neville needs to go.
Yeah.
I think, we look so good in the World Cup, and for him to be playing players out of position, how can you prepare for a European qualifiers like that? And there's players that are not playing in that position that Lucy Bronze plays in CDM. That could get in that team and is good enough to play in that role as well. So I think he's actually making the England team worse now. I think he's losing the girls a lot of confidence going into a European Championship. But I also think as we're just at the start of them preparations, that I don't think there's a better time to get rid of him either. Because I think he's an awful manager as well. I think he's more of a coach than manager. So yeah, and if you look at statistics as well, I know it's harsh to say, but we did worse in 2019's World Cup than we did in 2015. So he showed no progress for me in his job, and it's time for Phil Neville to go.
Absolutely. I think he might, if we lose against Germany in November, I do think that is curtains for Mr. Neville. However, he did say that, because they were talking about Leah Williamson and the fact that she got very little time in the World Cup, and he said, I'm going to play her in Germany, but it'll probably be midfield. Leah Williamson is a defender.
I think that sums the man up, doesn't it?
So that's all I have to say that. But we are a West Ham podcast, so we can talk about the West Ham girls that were on international duty. Both Courtney and Leanne were on duty for the Republic of Ireland. Leanne got a few minutes in their first game on the break, but Courtney did not. But that's because goalkeepers, it's very hard to break into that squad. They tend to have a number one, and then they might change it about. But when she's competing with Grace Maloney of Reading and Marie Hurahan, who has been Ireland's number one, it's going to be a bit of a tough ask.
Maybe if she changed to England, Phil Neville might play her up front. So
I'm still waiting for the day he gets Lucy Bronze to don gloves. But that was the thing. Cho had a very successful campaign, so to speak, against the US. They played the US twice during the US's victory campaign. She captained both times. They lost 2-0 in the first game, but then managed to draw the second game, which, considering the run the USA have been on, is quite an achievement, because they are quite a few places below the USA. So that was a successful international campaign. Canada had a very successful couple of games, and again, Leon got a few minutes there, so that was a good, again, a good runabout. Didn't actually check the Switzerland scores, but I'm pretty sure they were pretty decent. And again, Alicia got a few minutes there. So
I think she got a goal as well, Lehman.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure she scored.
Don't think any of our girls started, but they came on as successful subs. And also, Norway had a great run, but unfortunately, our girl didn't feature. But they did start their European qualifying campaign in great style by winning 7-0 and 13-0 in their group, which hopefully bodes well that they will qualify for the Euros, which hopefully our girl will get featured a little bit more. And also, again, Dali had a great run out with France. It's great to see her back in the French national squad. Hopefully that's going to give her some confidence, and that she will break into that squad again and also carry on the great playing for us. So that was
I
our
think
international round-up.
I think
But,
our players playing for international teams is also massive for West Ham as much as it is for them players. You know, for Matt to attract players going into January and the following summer, to say to a player that you can play with a French international in Kenza Dali, I think that's a massive attraction, as well as young players that are up and coming like Lehman and Kiernan. People would want to be a part of that, and especially when you've got the record Matt Beard has. And it's good to see our players are not just being sat there, most of them. They're actually coming on and making a difference in international matches, which is the highest level of football.
yeah, no, absolutely. So, and also, hopefully, once she's back fit again, Midag will be called up with the Dutch squad, as would Esme de Graaf once she's back from injury. And also, we have Julia with the German squad. So, there is a lot of international play going on with our team. Unfortunately, not for England. And I did actually write something.
That's probably the best while Phil Neville's in charge. Martha Thomas might be on centre back, the wing, something like that.
Yeah, but hopefully that will spur on our girls. Now we have to talk about Sunday, which, as Reese has pointed out, I am going to be more positive than I was last time, because I was very proud of the girls at this game. Reese wimped out. He says it was but I think it was because he was cold. And then
We'll but we'll keep that private.
He says that it was the trains, and to be fair, the trains weren't great on Sunday. I say that he wimped out and didn't want to get cold. But I know you were watching on the player, and we played fantastic. You know, we changed our game plan to play against the opponents that we had, which is the first time I've seen us do that for a while, rather than Matt sticking to his game plan. We brought the game out wide, which we haven't done this season. Gilly was playing much wider than she normally does. We had some defined wingers, and that's where we got them. And 3 fantastic goals, and I can't argue more than that. I would have liked a clean sheet. I would have, but, you know, last little glitch there, but I have no complaints. What did you think, Reese?
Well, I definitely don't have any complaints. I thought we was fantastic. I think that's our best performance of this season by far. I liked the way we were changing up play to benefit us, which I haven't seen yet this season. But one thing that I do want to mention is I think it was about 20 minutes in, there was like a Twitter group moaning about Midag and Cho. But I actually quite like that partnership. I think it shores it up a bit more in midfield. I'd rather have them two as like centre defensive mids with Daly just in front, because I think Daly in the league has completed the most dribbles, and to have that protection behind you also gives you that confidence to do that more. And I think it's that midfield 3 was actually more effective as well. And one thing that I was impressed with as well is, even though Longhurst was dropped, we didn't lose that leadership in midfield, and all the girls were confident with that midfield partnership. So I don't think we've tried that this season yet with Midag, Cho and Daly. Like you said, that Ali, I think Lehman and Kiernan, when they're both playing together with Thomas up front, I think that's a very lethal partnership, and I think they're going to win us a lot of games this season. And I think we're going to win more games by big margins as well. And I think it just breathes that bit of confidence back into the team after a disappointing performance at the London Stadium against Tottenham, who we have on Sunday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This was a must-win game for multiple reasons. It was must-win in our position in the league, because if we didn't win, we would have stayed either stagnant at 8th, or we might have dropped down to 9th. And even though both Birmingham and Liverpool aren't having the greatest starts of the season, you never want to be in that position where you're in a relegation battle that early. But also for morale, you know, to come off as we all know what my thoughts were on the Tottenham game, but poor performance against Tottenham. It wasn't even just that we lost, it was just a poor performance. To come back and not only win against Brighton, a team that beat us 4-0 at the end of last season, but to come back and win it so decisively and clinically. Like, we put that game to bed after the first goal and it just carried on from there. We made them get sloppy. Like, you look at the penalty that they conceded, which got us our second. It was sloppy defending, but we were clinical, you know. You look at Vettelin, that tackle, I know she got a yellow for it, but as we were chanting, she took one for the team.
Mm-hmm.
But she was clinical and she was precise with blocking when they got close into the box. You saw Leanne track back and was up and down that pitch like a mad woman. You wouldn't even know that she'd been injured with the pace that she had on her. Everything came together, you know. Courtney made some cracking saves to deny them. I know, but our best friend was the post, because if I think got that first goal, that might have been a different story, but you couldn't fault it. The defensive partnership worked brilliantly, even when we replaced one out with Vettelin and we put in Hendricks. We didn't lose that partnership between, like, you had Hendricks, Flaherty and Brosnan all coming together, and everything just was perfect, and that's why we got the win that we did.
I think as well, with Brosnan in goal, the defence actually looks a lot more confident to carry the ball from defence and go into the wider areas. But Brosnan's kicking wasn't the best at times on Sunday, so I'll criticise her for that.
Wow, you said something negative about Courtney. Are you feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling fine.
I think you were right, though, about midfield. Last year, the biggest criticism for West Ham was we didn't have a midfield. Basically, our players would all run up and then run back down, and run up and run back down. There was no definitive midfield. Midag, for whatever faults you may have with her, has brought that definitive midfield. She is a holding midfield player. She will bring that line in together, and that's something that we need. And she's getting better with her passing. She was slightly sloppy on Sunday, but she's definitely getting better with her accuracy. And like you said, having Cho and her in the middle and then having Dali up front is just holding that sort of positioning, which I think we can make work well. And, you know, and if we carry on with playing down the wing like we did, then we might have a chance against Tottenham.
I think as well with Midag, she uses her body very well off the ball before she gets it to switch up play out to both wings. I think just before the first goal there was a move where she's literally used the right side of her body to turn out to the right wing to put the ball into Kiernan, and we nearly scored from that. And I really do like Midag and Cho together, because we don't only have one solid midfielder, we have two. So it's very hard to get past that midfield. And if you get past that midfield, you've got Flaherty and Vettelin at the back. So I think we're much more defensively sure. There's a lot of confidence as well in our own ability defensively, which last year, as you said, was a massive criticism of West Ham. So I think going in as well after 4 games, I think both of us would have took being 6th in the league. Obviously, there was only one disappointing performance, I think, against all the other teams. We've looked very good. And I think it's also important that we did pick up them points against Brighton, because I think in the league we have Chelsea and Man City next, and that they're going to be 2 very tough games to get points from.
No, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I have no real criticisms against us. We played clinically, which is what I think we've been lacking slightly. There was no, but also it was quite a fiery game, which I quite like. You know, there were some hardcore tackles from some of our players, which, you know, were needed. You know, there was a moment when, you know, Brighton gave it back to us. You know, there's a moment when Martha Thomas got knocked absolute sparko.
Yeah.
On the floor, which was a slight moment of panic, but we can give it as good as we get. That's all I want. And another thing that off the game that I was actually really happy about was that we had a bit of an away support. It wasn't just me. There was about 12, 13 of us all sat together, and I know there's a few others dotted around the stadium. And if you want to watch the replay of the game, you can definitely hear us from the beginning, and we don't shut up.
Well, you did interrupt the FA TV commentary quite a few times, Ali.
Yeah, I haven't seen it back yet, so I don't know. I've only heard a little bit, and I just wanted to see if you could hear us. And yes, you can. But that's what we wanted, and so it's great to see, and hopefully we're going to be able to bring that atmosphere back to Rush Green as well. Lots of bubbles and we love your West Ham and things like that. But overall, I can't fault it. It was a great day out, and you missed it for not wanting to be cold.
Oh God, I'm just going to take the abuse tonight and carry on.
Well, as we mentioned before, we do have Tottenham this week in the Conti Cup, which is a must-win for multiple reasons. But I do want to briefly touch on their form because they played Man United this weekend and they lost 3-0, and they looked quite lackluster, if I'm honest. They didn't look like they had the same fighting spirit when they played us. And I wanted to know if you thought it's because Gemma Davison is out with an ankle injury, whether she's a linchpin that has meant that they've got a bit lost in their way, or was just Man United too good?
I think it was more of Casey Stoney's tactics being nullified with the way she played. No team has really counter-attacked Tottenham this year, and she tested that high defensive line, but they also judged the defensive line where they didn't hardly get caught offside, and really did cut Tottenham up quite a lot. But I do think it also is a case of Manchester United are just too good for Tottenham right now. But I've got to mention it again that Becky Spencer, even though she conceded 3 goals, she had a fantastic game, made some crucial saves. There was one in the first minute where she's made a double save, and I think if that goes in, Tottenham collapses.
No, absolutely. I do believe that if you look at the goals that Man United did score, they were mainly defensive errors rather than goalkeeping errors. So I think that's maybe something we can exploit, is the fact we can get behind the Tottenham defence, like you said, test that high line, then we should be quite golden, I hope.
See, with playing Tottenham, I've gone from having the most confidence against them to not having confidence at all. It's really hard to judge both the performances. The one in pre-season, I think we was unlucky not to win, and at the London Stadium we was awful. So I think if we do again play direct like we did in that pre-season game and mix it up with going out wide, I think we can really exploit Tottenham. But one thing I want to mention as well is I'd put Hendricks in as fullback, because when she in that pre-season game when Rosella played, Hendricks was with her, and she didn't really have a sniff when Hendricks was on the pitch. And then we changed that up going into the London Stadium game, and I think she ripped us apart. That was their main attacking threat throughout the game. So I think if we match that like we did in pre-season with Hendricks, I think we'd be having a much more better chance and a much more better performance against Tottenham this time. But I think in terms of lineup, I think I said to you earlier this morning that I'd make 4 changes. I think that would be Longhurst to come in, Morehouse, and I can't remember the other 2.
Yeah, you said Hendricks.
Yeah, Leon and Hendricks. Yeah. So I think them 4 changes don't make the team any weaker, and it's going to be an interesting game against Tottenham this time.
It is, and as I said before, it's going to be a must-win game for multiple reasons. One, which is that we've already lost 1 game in our Conti Cup qualification against Chelsea. So if we lose this one, it's going to be nigh impossible to qualify for the knockout stages. So we must do it for that one, and also for pride. We cannot lose to Tottenham for the 3rd time this season. I don't think my little heart could take it if we lost to Tottenham for the third time this season.
Well, if we do lose to Tottenham on Sunday, I'm really going to dread next week's show because it will be a massive alley rant.
Yep, sounds about right. So we've identified where we can take Tottenham. Who would be your key players, do you think, apart from Hendricks? Who do we need to make sure that is in that squad and ready to take them on?
So Leon, when she played against Tottenham in pre-season and even in the game we lost at the London Stadium in the FAWSL, I think she played really well both times. She missed a golden chance at the London Stadium with that header, but I think she does really. She's got a lot of confidence now in her game. She's used to the English league. She's used to our fast attacking playing systems that most teams play with, and I think once she gets going in terms of scoring 1 or 2 goals a game, I think she's going to be very lethal. But in terms of position, I think we'd have her more towards the left wing because I think when Thomas and her played together, there's a very strong partnership there, and I think that needs to be executed against Tottenham. And also we've got an important game against Chelsea the following week, which I think the FAWSL will be our priority, obviously. So I think some of our key players will be rested.
Yeah. See, I disagree with you there about saying that the WSL will be our priority because, let's face it, we ain't going to catch up Man City right now.
You never know. Leicester done it.
Okay, that is true. But I think our best chance of silverware is going to come from one of the cup competitions. It's going to come from the Conti or it's going to come from the FA Cup again. So I would put more focus on beating Tottenham this week, and not just because it's Tottenham, because I don't want to lose to Chelsea either. But I would put more emphasis on winning this competition, this game this week. And then have maybe rest the players for the Chelsea game, or because we're lucky, we've got 4 players that have got pace that could outpace Tottenham.
Yeah,
we've got Leanne, we've got Leon, we've got Lehman on her day, and also Darley on the game against Brighton was up there, So I think we've definitely got, those players to outpace Tottenham. So my opinion was focus on the Tottenham game rather than the Chelsea game. So I would play Courtney in goal rather than Anna, and then play Anna in Chelsea the following week.
Well, if I had it my way, Courtney would be starting every week. But I disagree with you there because I think if we lose to Chelsea and then we lose to Man City, you've just mentioned being in that relegation race. If Liverpool and Birmingham also win both of them games that we lose, we're then back down the bottom of the table. So I'd rather win our games in the FAWSL than in the Conti Cup. And I think talking about cup competitions, I think we'd kind of lean more towards the FA Cup because that run we had last year and the fact of getting to Wembley was massive for us, and to do that again would be a massive statement.
No, absolutely. I'd actually like to reassure our American viewers the situation that Reese just described. It's not that dire that if Birmingham and Liverpool win, that we're suddenly back down there. There's about 4 teams all on 6 points, and we are one of them, which is why we're 6th. So we need to focus a little bit on the cup.
Yeah, but like I said, if Liverpool and Birmingham win both of their games, I think they'd actually be above the 6-point range. So
Birmingham wouldn't be because they've yet to win anything. Liverpool might be because they got their first point this week against. Who did they play? Liverpool
Bristol City.
There we go. I was like, and they play Reading, and I was like, no, Everton play Reading. My brain.
That was a great 25 minutes. The Reading and Everton game. It was 2-2 after 25 minutes.
I was going to say, Farrah Williams getting her assists in. There's life in the old legs yet with Farrah. But so we both disagreed on what we should be focusing on.
I think that's our first disagreement on any show, actually.
Courtney versus Martha. That was our first.
Oh, fair enough.
So, but we do agree that this game is a must-win game, even if it's just for morale reasons, because I don't know how the girls going to take losing to the same team 3 times, especially when it's Tottenham. Because I know we did last season against Arsenal. We lost them all 3 times that we faced them, but that's Arsenal, and they ended up going on to win the league. Tottenham are a newly promoted side. They're in a similar level of games, like level of players and things like that we have. I think it would be very disheartening for the girls if we lost to them 3 times.
And for everybody else in the stadium.
So, looking ahead, so we've got the Chelsea game coming up. They pulled off quite a feat to beat Arsenal this week. Arsenal have now dropped down to 3rd, which a lot of people were quite surprised about. Man City are currently sitting pretty at top of the league after beating Birmingham quite roundly at 3-0. And poor Birmingham are sat at the bottom, having not been able to manage to get any points yet. I do feel very sorry for them because they do have Brie, our girl from last season, and I did want them to do okay, but it does seem to be that this is not their season.
It will be a massive loss to the league though if Birmingham do get relegated, because they did used to be one of the powerhouses in the FAWSL. But it would be interesting if they did stay up and Aston Villa got promoted, because that would be another derby for the league, and I'm sure they'd play that at Villa Park and Birmingham Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be actually sad to see Birmingham get relegated, because from last season they were 4th. You know, they were a power thing, but then they got absolutely decimated. In fact, in transfers, you know, there's only a very few players that they've managed to keep from this season.
I think they may be in the same position as Liverpool were at this stage last season, where they're just struggling, and then hopefully their manager can, build something together and help Birmingham survive this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've got Reading, and the great news, if people aren't aware, with the Reading game is that we have been upgraded. So we don't have to try and get to High Wycombe on a Sunday again.
It's all part of the fun, though, that.
Last time I had to get to High Wycombe on a Sunday, I had to get a coach, a train, a bus, and then back again. And then I missed my coach because it went to penalties and I wasn't leaving. I didn't factor that in. I didn't factor in the extra time and the penalties, and I wasn't leaving. So I missed my coach and then having to get an expensive train home. But
so it's a great day out for you then, Ali.
So we have been upgraded. So we're going to be playing actually in Reading, at the Reading men's stadium. Now, are you going to wimp out on me again, or are you going to?
No, I'm going to go to the one at the Majeski. Don't worry.
So that's going to be good, and we're going to preview that one next week. No, we're not, because Chelsea the week after. But we are going to talk about our Conti Cup run next week. Any final thoughts, Reese?
No, not really. I think we've covered everything. Just looking forward to hopefully getting a win against Tottenham, boost our morale even more. Another impressive performance going into a massive London derby against Chelsea in the more favourised competition.
So that's all we've got time for with the podcast today. We will be back with you next week, where we'll be hopefully in a positive mood after the game after Tottenham. As Reece said, you might want to run for cover if we lose to Tottenham again, because I will not be happy. And we'll be previewing the Chelsea game. We'll also bring back the regular features of our Spotlight player and Reece's FIFA ratings. We are still awaiting the results of who won Player of the Month, either Courtney or Martha, but we'll be able to bring you those next week. So keep your votes coming in.
And if we still don't get Courtney will be winning.
I said we just flip a coin. Right. Have a good evening, folks. And that's all from us.
Thanks, guys. Bye.